Talon #1, written by James Tynion IV and Scott Snyder, art by Gillum March. Last issue was a zero issue, just kind of introduced the character, and then some indeterminate amount of time passed, and we see that Calvin Rose, aka the eponymous Talon, has discovered that Night of the Owls happened, and the Court of Owls is seemingly defunct because they just went big and then apparently everyone killed themselves. So he's like, alright, I gotta make sure. So he goes to one of the locations where there was like a Talon's nest hidden inside the building, and he's like, I'm just gonna go in and I'm just gonna check the computers and make sure that like there's no network activity or anything like that, and then I can finally stop running from them. So he skydives off a GCPD blimp, which I don't even know how he got onto it to begin with, and he makes his way down into an old abandoned train station, which is apparently where they had it, because it was a whole thing of they controlled the train station, so they were able to control who left Gotham, because Gotham was actually just a big trap. So he walks in, he gets into the place, and he's like, okay, all right, there's no alarms or anything just as I walk in, so that's cool. So he makes his way over to one of the computers, and at that point, one of the Court of Owl crests activates and like scans him, and he's like, you're Calvin Rose, alert, alarm, kill this guy. So he's like, ah, crap, all right, there's still an alarm. And we see an old guy somewhere across town has gotten the message for this alarm, and he is like, ah, geez, here we go. So he goes and he disconnects the alarm, and he stops it from going off, but then, whoops, wouldn't you know it, there's still a Talon around. And this one is female, seemingly significantly older, like from an older time. I feel like we might have seen her in a tie-in comic, but regardless, she starts kicking Calvin's butt, and she's just like, oh, you're still just a normal human, Talon. We're something much better because we're like zombies now. And he's like, all right, well, let's see how that works out. So he tries like throwing knives and stuff like that, using his escape abilities to get farther away, and each time she's just like, nope, that's not going to work, and she's just charging at him. Eventually he gets some high tensile strength wire wrapped around her neck to the point where like it's like a noose tightening, and it's like, oh, well, you're not going to be able to cut it, and if you struggle too much, it's going to literally decapitate you, so I'm going to be on my way now, goodbye. So he jumps down an old chimney because sure, why not? And as he reaches the bottom, the Talon's like literally already there waiting. And she's like, I thought I told you we can't be stopped. So eventually they get into just a full-on fight. And Talon manages to take... It's a bit weird saying Talon. Calvin manages to take the Talon's knife from her and then stabs her in the side of the head. And she's still going. There's like no issue. So then he takes a taser and electrifies it, hoping to scramble up her brains well enough that he can get away. It does knock her out, but then the old guy shows up and she's like, hey, good job. You did a good job knocking her out. But cold is actually the only thing that does it. So he just pours a little bit of liquid nitrogen into her brain and says, yeah, that'll do it. All right, let's go. And at that point, Calvin blacks out. So 18 hours pass and Calvin wakes back up. And the old guy is like, hi, it's time that you and I had a little talk. And immediately Calvin just like throws a bedside table at him and tries to get into the air ducts in order to escape. And he's like, this is a closed system. You can't get, like, I just want to talk, okay? That's literally all it is. The owls aren't gone, obviously, but they're weak. And right now is when we need to strike. And Calvin immediately comes down and like freaks out, just like, who are you? How do you know my name? And he's like, okay, here's the deal. I have been monitoring all the Court of Owl systems since they left. And the reason I'm able to do that is my name is Sebastian Clark. And my father wrote a book on the history and the inner workings of the Court of Owls. And when the court found out, they didn't let it get released, and they killed literally everybody who knew about it, except for me. I managed to escape. So now I'm using that knowledge in order to take down the court. And they have to be taken down now because right now they're like spread to the wind. They're all across the globe trying to like regain their assets. They're super weak. Right now is the only time that the court is weak enough that we can attack. And Calvin's like, okay, why you keep saying we? And he's like, I am old and just a normal person. You are a Talon. You know their inner workings as well. You have the strengths and abilities to take them out. I need you to help me here. And he's just like, look, they're running scared. Who cares? Like, they're not after me. That's all I want. It's like, dude, we can literally end them now. I just need you to help. Like, you remember that woman you saved however long ago in the Zero issue? Yeah, they're going to be coming after her as well. Do you want that on your conscience? And he's like, I don't know. That seems like a lot of work. And he's like, okay, how about this? And then he opens up like a door, and it turns out that he managed to remake his old Talon outfit based off of designs and specifications he found on their computers. And he's like, I made you this. It's got some improvements. What do you say now? And he's like, all right, fine. Let's rip the owls apart with their own talons. But tis. It was good. I actually genuinely enjoyed this issue. I can't remember too much about what I said about the Zero issue, but this was definitely more of a, okay, we had this guy who was on the run in the Zero issue. How do we get him into Gotham so that we can, like, have him start his own plot? And we already established Court of Owls may or may not be done. So, yeah, it's a good enough way to get it into the plot that's moving forward. Of it being, okay, the goal of this book is to dismantle the remaining tiny little pockets of the Court of Owls. That's what Calvin's job is. We got an old guy who I'm sure is 100% on the up and up. I don't dislike anything about the premise. I think my only critique, if you can even call it that, is the idea that he would, like, stop running just long enough to see if he could stop running. Like, he was just he came back to Gotham despite the fact he knew it was a horrible idea, just to see if the Court of Owls were truly dead. And I kind of get that, but it does seem like for an escape artist kind of guy, he'd be fine with just staying on the road and keep running. So, I don't know. It's whatever for me. Art-wise, Gilliam March, hit or miss, depending on if you really like him or not. I think he suits this. I think that the art style is very energetic, very bombastic, and it really suits the character and the story being told. But it is hit or miss depending on if you like it. So overall, I'd say this is probably like a 7.5. It's a good start. It's a solid lead-in. My critiques are barely anything worth noting. So yeah, it's just a decent start, and I'm looking forward to seeing how it turns out.